Alright, I am back. As you can tell by my hand, I'm still loving Mono Blue. Playing the Vendilion Clique. I've been suitably impressed with how efficient Clique is as the general for this deck. Clique is quite powerful. It provides the clock, and that's something that this deck desperately needs, I've noticed. But if you've been enjoying Clique, let me know in the comments, or like the video, share it. Really appreciate all of that. Alright, and we're playing against my opponent, Soviet Know-How. You may have seen him before in some of my other videos. I've played against his Nath deck before when I was rocking Rain. This is not Nath. This is Shattergang brothers. I was talking to him after the match. We played a match of 3 games. So sacrifice a creature, each other player sacrifices a creature, sack an artifact. And then the same effect for artifacts or enchantments, with various colors of mana for each of them. The real danger is that first effect, sacrifice a creature, everyone sacrifices a creature. The Vendilion Clique deck has been trimmed, cut, polished, so it is at probably the lowest creature count I've ever had it at, and I've added more permission in, I smoothed the curve, pushed it down more. You know, the usual 1v1 tuning that you want to do with a commander deck. This is by no means able to be run in multiplayer at this point. It just won't be able to keep up. But 1v1, it is phenomenal. So, looking at my hand, I have a lot of mana, not a lot to do with it. I have 2 counters though, and sort of what I've been finding is enjoyable with this hand. Making sure you have mana, all the mana you'll need for an entire game, and then a little bit to do, because you just need to get Clique down as quickly as possible, and if you can win the first few tempo hits when they try to remove Clique or put a blocker out or advance their game plan enough that it will stop yours, if you can get that tempo, Clique will close out the rest. So we're going to lean on this Condescend. I'm going to lean on this Condescend to be able to pseudo-draw some non-mana sources, so that way we can get to some other stuff. But other than that, I think this is a great keep. I'm just going to leave the commanders open for a little bit, so they get in the way. We lost the roll, so... Alright, Foreboding Ruins, Flashing, Badlands. I wasn't sure if this was just like gut instinct to make sure your land is untapped, or if he wanted to telegraph not to wasteland him because it's pointless to wasteland when he has the Badlands. I wasn't sure about it, but I wasn't going to worry about Foreboding Ruins. He could have played it tapped for all I care. There's nothing really I do on turn 1 that black-red will interact with, so I'm going to, of course, deploy the ring, so that way I have turn 2 Condescend for 3, Mana Drain, or Vendilion Clique, based on his actions. So there's the Badlands, and Mycosynth Wellspring. So he's going to go get that forest that his deck needs so desperately. Alright, we'll dismiss that. Ooh, Arcane Denial. Well, that's a great counterspell. I actually have been very taken with it. It's one of the new additions to the deck, and it brings our permission suite up in effectiveness, down in cost. The 2 cards that they get and the 1 card that I get isn't really nominal because I've put it in the same realm as Memory Lapse, where it's an answer for what's going on right then, that moment, and for 2 mana, it's quite efficient. And if I Arcane Denial something and then I untap and I just hit my 21 points with Clique, Arcane Denial is as good as Mana Drain or actual counterspell. Sometimes better because the blue 1 instead of blue-blue. So we're just going to land and go. It's pretty standard for this deck at this point. So, Prismatic Omen. Now, I skipped through it. I gave it a lot of thought to this, and I ultimately decided this hand isn't going to play containment in the sense it's going to do erase. So Prismatic Omen, while it gives him perfect fixing, which I thought it was pretty cool that it adds, you can read all the different types on the mountain there, on the Foreboding Ruins. While Prismatic Omen fixes his mana perfectly, it's not something that I care about. He's already got very good mana with 2 dual lands off the bat. Any green dual land, and his mana is essentially fixed for his entire game. And should he ever be able to sacrifice this, he's just going to go get another green source anyway. So I'm not really going to play that type of game. And I don't have anything to use Drain and get. I'm going to close these. So we're going to slam Clique here. And I gave thought to hitting mine. The issue with Clique is use a selection of non-lands, which, I mean, I'm complaining about the purity of gold at that point. It's not that bad to complain. It's still gold. So we're going to push Maelstrom Pulse away from the top. I'm frankly surprised Maelstrom Pulse wasn't the play there to get rid of this Soul Ring. I think it would have been correct. Of course, it would have met a counterspell, but it probably would have been correct to try to remove Soul Ring. This deck doesn't ever tap out during your own turn, like during its pilot's turns, if it can help it. So if he had cast Maelstrom Pulse on my Soul Ring, I would have been forced to counter this turn, and he would have had one additional turn that Clique wasn't hitting him, putting him on a clock, turning my 7-turn clock into an 8-turn clock by trading the Pulse for one of the counters that I'm sure he puts me on at that point. But now, not playing the Omen first, he would have still had to use Pulse at some point during his turn, but he would have been being beat down while he had to tap out for it, just for it to meet with a counterspell. It probably would have been correct to use Pulse prior. Either he gets rid of the Clique, or he gets rid of or he delays the Clique, or gets rid of the Soul Ring. So I will, of course, beat for 3 and land ship. And Jace's Ingenuity was a great draw there. So now, if he doesn't do anything, I have Ingenuity on end step. So strip mine. Alright, well, I see a great bait land for strip mine to hit. Because this is a 5-color land with Prismatic Omen in play, so I just want to keep him on the point of not being able to cast a lot of things. I know I'm not going to contain his colors, but if he's spending his turn strip mining my land instead of using that mana to cast a spell, I'm going to be in pretty good shape with 3 counter backups. I only need 6 turns of a clock at this point. So I'm going to Ingenuity. He played a Catacomb Sifter. It makes the Scion that he can sack for mana. That's not bad for me. Alright, so I pick up a Curfew, one of the new additions to the deck. Blue mana, instant. Each player returns a creature he or she controls to the owner's hand. Curfew's pretty useful. I've been enjoying how effective it is at utility. Early, it stops. If I'm turn 1, they go turn 2 Fauna Shaman or something. It actually delays the Fauna Shaman enough for me to untap and have counter magic. So I'm gonna play the Nykthos. I consider not doing it. I consider tapping for it here. I kind of wanted to bait the strip mine out here prior to going into combat. That's why I played it pre-combat and then decided to not use it. Trying to give up my land drop for the turn in the hope that he wants to tap for it. I make a lot of decisions here and ultimately go to leave main 2. And he has a stop set on my main 2 for some reason. So he strips my Nykthos, but I'm in main 2. Because he's activated an ability, I never leave main 2. He didn't pass priority back. So now I will once again gain priority during my main phase. So I float 1-2, and I go with Tezzeret. And of course here I untap the Soul Ring just so I can have Condescend or Arcane Denial up. I didn't feel terribly secure about him untapping at 4 mana and being able to beat Tezzeret for 3 at least. Golgari Rot Farm, Goblin Welder. Well, Goblin Welder doesn't get anything yet, but it can start to get a lot of value, so that seems like a good target for Arcane Denial. And at this point, I want to draw more action, so I decided Arcane Denial actually draws me a card, while Condescend only filters a little bit. And using them in this order, I'll draw one off Arcane Denial and then filter off Condescend, whereas if I'm use Condescend first, I could be drawing one of the cards I scryed to the top off Condescend. if I Arcane Denial the following turn. Alright. We draw some cards. Spell Crumple, that's going to be useful. It's just more permission. So I see Ponder. I ponder land, future sight. I have a land for next turn, so I think I shuffle this here. Yeah, I do. Get a Sky Diamond. Going to be useful. And I'm going to Tezzeret. I take up again. Winter Orb's not going to do much against this board. He's got Golgari Rot Farm as his land, so he cannot just untap, have full mana, because this produces any of the colors, or black and green. So his lands produce 2 under Orb. I wanted to get a little bit more artifact mana in play before I try to use a Tezzeret for an Orb. I get in with Clique, and ship it back. I'm just going to sit on this massive permission suite currently. So in at Tezzeret, I'm going to Curfew, just to keep Tezzeret alive for a turn. I was wondering if he was going to bounce the Catacomb Sifter or the thing. If he had kept bounce Catacomb Sifter, I could see it, because I effectively played a removal spell on his token, and now I can just flash in my commander again. Whereas if he had bounced Catacomb Sifter, Tezzeret would only go to 2, but he would be able to replay the Catacomb Sifter. I'm going to attribute this to him understanding what Tezzeret can be at 2, which is Winter Orb. And if he hits Tez 1, recast that off 2 lands, Winter Orb, he'll be at 1, 2, 3, 4 mana next turn. I don't know if that's... I think he's trying to avoid me being able to resolve Winter Orb here. So Deathrite Shaman, that's pretty useful, especially with Strip Mine Nykthos in the grave. Has at least 2 pieces of fuel. I'm going to Click again. I see Eternal Witness and 4 lands. Wow. Badlands, which I knew about. It was bounced from Golgari Rot Farm prior. The Rakdos Carnarium, another bounce land. So Winter Orb's looking less and less appetizing with this hand. So Eternal Witness can get back Welder or Strip Mine. Honestly, I don't mind him getting back either of them. The Maelstrom Pulse was put to the bottom. So I'm just going to leave this hand alone. And of course, like a champ, I draw Mana Crypt off the top. So land, I get in, and we're going to resolve the crypt, and make a lot of mana, and use the Blighted Cataract. Of course, I draw double lands, so we're going to Merchant Scroll for Mystic Confluence. And my plan this turn is use Mystic Confluence. If he casts a spell, counter it, bounce, bounce. If he doesn't cast a spell, bounce, bounce, draw. And then next turn, -2 my Tezzeret, and go get my Runechanter's Pike. I hit him for the 12th point of damage this turn, the 4th attack. Runechanter's Pike gets +X+O, where X is number of instants and sorceries. So let's pop out of the graveyard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Mystic Confluence will be 6. So it will be +6+O on a 3/1, making it a 9/1 in the air, 12 damage. Meaning if he casts something, I get to counter bounce bounce. I should untap, hit him for 9, which should be Xaxes on commander, because Mystic Confluence is put into the graveyard as the final card. It'll be the 6th instant or sorcery. So that's the plan at this point. And of course, I already have the Mana Drain, so Merchant Scroll can go get a more utilitarian counterspell. So he's going to play Carnarium. That's fine with me. Float a bunch of mana, and he goes for the Shattergang Bros the first time. And of course, this is an easy counter, bounce, bounce. That is fine with me. Get them out of the way. Black, and he's going to redeploy Deathrite Shaman. So his shields are totally down here. And you're going to see an embarrassing moment of mine. I pick up Withdraw. Don't play land. Alright, I Tezzeret, -2. Go get... Oops, I got it in my newest collection of cards for this deck. and neglected to add Runechanter's Pike to the deck. Well, I just felt so embarrassed after this. I commented in the chat, I was like building it up. Alright, well, 12 commanders, 6 instant sorceries. Oh, there's a card that finishes us here, but it wasn't the case. Now, he has tapped out. I have 5 mana in artifacts, so I decided to just go get the second best card here that basically will win me the game. It'll just take a couple more turns. Winter Orb. But, man, was I kicking myself. Alright, so I get the orb. Oh, I got a clicky. Play a land, and this withdraw is basically a hard counter now, because I know he'll have land on his turn plus Rot Farm or Carnarium, and any land produces all colors. So I expect him to redeploy his 2/3 that makes the 1/1, and I can respond with withdraw, targeting the Deathrite and the 2/3 before he has a token, and both of them will be bounced because he'll have no other mana for turn. So this turn I hit him up to 15, and then 18, and then 21. So unfortunately it's going to take more time, but withdraw, Spell Crumple, Condescend, Mana Drain, and Winter Orb, I should be more than adequately set up. And I clicked through my attack step. I got so put on tilt by the lack of Runechanter's Pike in the deck, I just clicked F2 without even realizing it. And that's a lesson. Double check your lists when you've added new cards to make sure you actually added them before using things like Tezzeret. So, Rot Farm, Badlands. Alright, well, I knew that was going to happen. And nothing. Alright, well that was interesting. That's fine with me. Well, I basically don't have to do anything. My turn was undone. My mistake was undone. Fabricate. Now I'm thinking, alright, well maybe Runechanters cost 3. Maybe I got it really wrong and missed a complete season of Standard. Alright, so I'm going to go up to 15, and I'm going to fabricate. Tell me it's bugged. Yeah, I think we may have encountered a bug. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it's going to be continuing. Let me pop out the chat. Yeah, so I forgot to add my new Runechanter's Pike. And this turn I had said Leak, Crumpled, Drain, and Condescend in hand. I didn't tell him about the withdraw. This was not a Fabricate, that's what it was. Okay. I thought this was a Mana Leak, not Fabricate. So with that amount of counter magic, there's no way he was going to get past it. And I believe he says, so Orb was, yeah, figured I have enough removal to fight through 2, but not enough to stop the end of turn flashback in. And that's the real strength of Clique. Because I've only spent 3 mana on it, because remember it's bounced to my hand with Curfew instead of to the command zone, I have the option to just say okay to removal and then use a Sky Diamond, Sol Ring, Mana Crypt, and a land and put it back into play. And then just keep the clock going. And I think that's actually one of the real strengths. I can let him hit Clique with sorcery speed removal or wraths. I can let them resolve, let him 2-for-1 himself, and then just put Clique back in and clean up my hand or clean up his and keep the clock going effectively. So even if I didn't have a handful of counter magic, because I have so much mana, there's without having a continuous blocker with at least 4 toughness, there's no way that he's going to get Clique off the board on his turn and while preventing me from untapping with it, because I'll just be able to flash it back in with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana, at least 2 more times. But I have 1 land here. I might draw 1 more land as well. So there's really no way that he could effectively stop Clique from hitting him the last 2 times. So after that, he scoops it in, and we were chatting for a bit. tweaked his deck a little bit, looked at different commanders. If you have any suggestions, feel free to post them in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. It wasn't a great one. It shows you the power of Sol Ring. I just felt ahead the entire game. I always had the 2 counter spells that I opened the hand with were never actually cast the entire game. But having Sol Ring just means that I know I can sit on them as long as I want. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember to like, subscribe, favorite, share, put on Twitter, Pornhub, wherever you choose to share Magic videos. Just nasty efficient commander. See you guys.